The talk today is called Boundless, and it's about exploring next level consciousness. And the title was really easy because I spent the last week at Unity Village outside Kansas City at the Anton annual retreat. And the title of the retreat was Boundless, Exploring Next Level Consciousness. So I'm just reporting back on the stuff that I got filled up with over the course of the week. And there were wonderful presentations. There were keynotes that are long form. There were power talks, which are 15 minutes, which is just enough of a nugget to get you really thinking about some things. Completely filled up. So when the opportunity comes up again next October, and there's the possibility of going to Unity Village for the next year's retreat, which is deep within, mining our hidden treasures. Make it a point to go there, because Unity Village is spectacular, and the retreat is awesome. So some of the folks who made a particular impression on me were David Alexander, who is kind of the New Thought heretic, and he's the guy who is the mastermind behind the 100 days election intention. We're like 75 days in, there's only 25 or so days left. And he was talking about his new focus, which is building the fifth kingdom together. And you might remember that the four kingdoms of consciousness, the first kingdom is victim consciousness. It is done unto me. So that's where the world is doing stuff to us. And then as we go through and learn to use practical prayer and create new experiences in our lives, we move into the second kingdom of consciousness, which is manifestor consciousness. It is done by me. I am in partnership with the infinite. I am creating something new in the world around me. The third kingdom of consciousness is channel consciousness. It is done through me, and that's when we get to the point where we're not just doing stuff for ourselves through our through our spirituality or our intentional work. We're doing things on behalf of other people. And the fourth kingdom of consciousness is being consciousness. It is done as me. And he was talking about the fifth level of consciousness, the fifth kingdom of consciousness, which brings all of that together and goes beyond it. Some of the things that he talked about were, he has 4 Ps. And it's different than our 4 Ps, which are the steps that we use for creating a practical prayer, what makes a good affirmation. His 4 Ps are the things that people start praying for, which is princes, princesses, parking spots, and palaces. Those are his 4 Ps. And what he's pointing out, as we get through the kingdoms of consciousness, through those different levels, we don't need to focus on those 4 anymore. To bring relationships into our life, to get parking spots, to get the place to live, a car, a thing like that. It is, we're living in a sense of sufficiency and an experience of enoughness, and then we can turn to something bigger. He pointed out a couple of interesting things along the way. Oneness is plural, which is interesting. Oneness is plural. It happens when all of us together, a plurality, are doing that same thing together, of focusing on the oneness and being present in the oneness. He also pointed out that Jesus was political, which, as you read through the Bible stories, yeah, Jesus was political. He wasn't partisan, but he was political. He was creating political change there. Dr. Alexander told a story. We have this idea, I'm going to get rid of all of this. I'm going to celebrate my independence. I'm going to go move to a Caribbean island and just get away from all of this. And he pointed out that in order to do that, you need an airline and an airplane and a pilot and fuel and runways and organization and air traffic control. You need somebody to meet you when you get to the Caribbean island. You need a way of getting supplies while you're living on the Caribbean island. It takes an awful lot of dependence to get that level of independence. And he says the fifth kingdom, the one that he's working on now, is going beyond the fourth, which is, it is done as me. It is done as we. It's about community. It's about that plurality. It's about being together and doing things as one. And actually, community and consciousness and cooperation was a recurring theme. Jim Lockhart was there. He, I think, had the Distance Award. He came in from Lyon, France, which is where he's living now. And he was talking about beloved community. It's how we, in our spiritual communities and in our own communities, wherever we are going beyond what has been before. In a lot of ways, the structures have gone through what is described in spiral dynamics, and it's ready for the next stage. We're not going to church because somebody told us we have to go to church. We're not involved in a spiritual practice because we want the other people who are in the spiritual practice to think that we're cool. It's now about what am I being, what am I bringing, what am I sharing? And an interesting perspective that it brings to that. A couple of interesting points that he made. Head in the clouds, hands in the dirt. That's what we want to be doing. We want to be creating some change, but we need to be actively participating in it. And the other one was change is good. You go first. Change is good. You go first. Heard from Sheila McKeithen, our friend Sheila McKeithen, who is the president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, which is the organization Johnny Coleman started in Chicago some number of years ago. She lives in Kingston, Jamaica. She's originally from Florida. And she was talking about a healthy, happy, prosperous life on a sustainable planet. And you think that that's something aspirational for somebody who lives in a Caribbean island who's dealing, with, they're right up in the front lines of sea level rise and climate change. But she was talking about a bigger picture than that. She was talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. And it turns out that there are, I think, 17 goals that the United Nations has identified. And all the member nations of the United Nations, 190 plus of them, have agreed that these 19 goals are worthwhile. I actually printed out the picture of them. And coming up with 19 different colors is quite a challenge. So all people on earth deserve no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. All people deserve reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action. All deserve life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for our shared goals. And that's aspirational. They set the timeline on that for 2030, which seems like plenty of time. It's not, but it's got a little bit of time. And every year they do a report card. But she wasn't talking about this. She actually brought one of her staff ministers from Jamaica with her, and Jermaine McKenzie is actually a UN official. That's his day job. He works as her staff minister during his free time. And he is representing these sustainable development goals in Latin America and the Caribbean. And he spoke very powerfully about this because he's working on this stuff all the time. There's a report card that comes out every year. How well are we doing on any of these, and what's happening with them, and why are we being challenged? And he came up with the 3 C's of challenge that we've been facing lately: COVID, climate change, and conflict. Those are the things that have been setting us back in some of these areas recently. But it's a reminder that it's we. This is all the nations in the United Nations agree that these are important and powerful and worthwhile things to be doing. And so let's get busy. When there's some dirt to get on our hands, maybe that's a good time for us to do that. It's about people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. 5 P's. Everybody's got P's. It's amazing. Those are all categorized as people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. And there's a quote from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has." So when we're thinking, what can I do? What can I do? How can I make any change? That's how change happens. By setting the intention, by realizing that there is something that's important to be done. We did some sessions on visioning, about what is trying to happen now, and then what is my part to embrace? What are the steps that I am to take? What is it that I'm to let go of? So we can do that as our spiritual practice and continue to do that as our work in the world and continue moving forward. Our friend Sanja Mathis was there, and not just to lead yoga class every morning in the Fillmore Chapel. She did a power talk, and she was wonderful. She's just inspiring and has fun stories. And she told this story because she said that her dad used to just sometimes say stuff out of nowhere. And she was sitting with her dad, and he just looks at her and says, "If you're in a car that falls into the lake, And she says, why are we talking about this? He says, no, go with me. And she says, I'm never going to be in a car that falls into a lake. He says, if you're ever in a car that falls into a lake, then your car has the roll down windows. What you're going to do is wait till it gets to the bottom. Wait till it gets to the bottom. Then survey the car, see what's in the car. Then open the window and carry with you only what you need. You get back to the surface, you go home. And she realized that it was a spiritual message as well. When we are in a situation when there's some change happening for us, and we realize that we're now in the lake, look around. Survey what's available, and see what you want to carry with you. Because the car is already at the bottom of the lake. That's an insurance claim at this point. There's a recovery effort that may or may not go on. Our purpose is to get out of the car, to get ourselves back to safety and go home. Spiritually, we want to be doing that as well. Make sure that we're taken care of. Don't drag along the things that we don't need. And leave ourselves prepared for whatever it is that's coming next. My friend Tim Stewart was talking about Maxwell Maltz, who's a plastic surgeon and also the author of Psycho-Cybernetics. And as a plastic surgeon, he noticed that when his patients came in and they were pleased with the results of the plastic surgery, their lives were transformed. They led happier, more productive, more prosperous, more wonderful, more vibrant lives. And interestingly, it didn't matter how good the plastic surgery was. The plastic surgeons might say, really missed it on that one. And if the person looked at the results and they were happy with it, that's what mattered. It wasn't the results of the surgery, it was the results of the change in thinking that the people had. The patients who thought they looked better after plastic surgery were more likely to be happy and successful in life. A lot of it's about self-perception. And that's the invitation for us, as we connect together in community, to see ourselves as vibrant, as forward-thinking, as living on a planet that's sustainable, that works for everyone. Listen to the guidance. See what's ours to do. See what the possibilities are that are open to us. And take the steps. Take the steps. Not that we got to fix everything, not that we need to tote ourselves and load ourselves up with a to-do list, but to give ourselves a new possibility. So that is my week's worth of Boundless, next level consciousness in a few minutes, and an invitation for you to look beyond what has been, to see what we and community and togetherness looks like, and let us create something fabulous. Because you deserve it and we deserve it. So it is.